He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. This famous definition, so to speak, if we could talk of definition of God, this famous identification or description or indication of who God is in the New Testament and the Christian tradition, God is love. My dear friends, this may seem simple, but it is profound revelation. It's profound revelation because it is unique to the Christian tradition. Yes, many religions believe in God, and they have their own ideas of who God is. But in Christianity, in a very particular and specific way, God is revealed as love. And it has implication for our relationship with Him. One is that of knowledge, because the author of this letter tells us that to love God and to love one another is to know God. Permit me a little digression into my own field of specialization, philosophy. I have problems with those African philosophers who argue that Africans have their own specific way of knowing. They call it African epistemology. And they play into the hands of some Europeans who would want to see Africans as different so that they would have reasons to see them as inferior, thereby accepting that human nature is not the same. Whereas I sustain that human nature is the same. And since human nature is the same, the human mode of knowing is the same. What may change are circumstances. And often, as an example of the African way of knowing, my friends in the philosophical field will quote Leopold Sédar Senghor, who will say that Africans know by embrace, not by ratiocination and analysis. And the thing that all Germans are Kant and all Greeks are Plato. And that is the mistake most of us make, not knowing that most Germans didn't understand Kant. And I'm sure Hegel didn't even understand himself. You will now see St. John talking about knowledge by embrace, knowledge by love, which Senghor thought was specifically African. No, that has always been a form of knowledge. The knowledge of love is the deepest form of knowledge, and that is why in the Old Testament, marital intimacy was described as knowledge. Adam knew his wife. So, my dear friends, this mode of relationship that penetrates the mystery of a being, that is love. Before a mystery, you fall down in contemplation. And if you are able to love a mystery, you will be able to know that mystery. Permit me to draw from the insights of Rudolf Otto. I'm sure you are familiar with the insights he gave in his seminal work published in 1917, Das Heilige, translated in English as The Idea of the Holy, where he described the sacred, our experience of the sacred as an experience of the numinous or mystery. And he says this experience of the numinous or mystery, that's ganz andere, totally other, elicits in us two complementary sentiments. One is the sentiment of awe, and the other is the sentiment of attraction. From where we have that famous expression of mysterium fascinans et tremendum, or tremendum et fascinans. A mystery that is at the same time awe-inspiring and attractive. Why do I make a reference to this? As human beings, our experience of the sacred in any religion at all has these two components. But which of the two components will take precedence depends on our experience of that sacred. And where the sacred is seen only as manifesting itself rather than revealing itself, the manifestation is always limited. There is a difference between manifestation and revelation. I give an example. Seminarians, you are coming out of the dormitory or hostel at an odd time when other seminarians are elsewhere, and you suddenly run face to face, come face to face with the rector, and he says nothing. The rector has manifested himself, but he has not revealed to you anything. So the sacred can manifest himself or itself in many ways. But in Christianity, we believe the sacred not only manifests himself, but reveals himself. The sacred is personal, and revelation is also personal, reaching its culmination and the revelation that we celebrate in the incarnation. In the incarnation, God reveals himself in the fullest in the person of Jesus Christ, who became a human being. Here it is not just guessing who the sacred is or pulling together elements from various manifestations. It is the revelation of a loving God. John chapter 3 verse 16 that all of us are familiar with. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that all those who believe in him, anyone who believes in him, might not perish, but might have eternal life. And the author of John's Gospel and the author of the letter of St. John are believed to be from the same source, if not the same hand. In this reading we heard today, he appeals to that same idea, that God gave his Son as sign, as a demonstration of this love, so that we may truly know who he is. So that we may truly know who he is. Christ came to reveal God to us, and Second Vatican Council tells us also to reveal man to himself. Because it is in knowing who God really is that we realize our true identity as his children and as those made in his image and likeness. It is this love that gives that is the basis of our Christian life. The love that gives itself. And you know, our traditional religion, the religion of our ancestors, saw the sacred in many places and in many ways manifested. But the idea of the sacred as a tremendum, the awe-inspiring sacred, is stronger in our traditional religion than the sacred or the divine, who is love. I am not aware in the religion of our ancestors of our being invited, of our people being invited to love God. Rather, what is more pronounced is fear. Fear. And here I come to you, my dear spiritual directors. The assignment of leading candidates to the priesthood and religious life to love God rather than to fear Him is not an easy assignment. Our people respond more quickly to fear than to love. You may have heard some of our public office holders, Christians, saying that the oath of office that they take should be taken with the juju of our ancestors rather than with the Bible. Because people are not afraid of the Bible, but they are afraid of the fetish symbols. And if anybody swore by Amadioha or what is that other one in Rolo? Adorero for Nsukka people. Nobody would ever dare to steal public funds. My dear brothers, it is in the seminary. It is in the priesthood. So many people find it difficult to love the seminary, to love their superiors, to love the rector, love the bishop, but they can easily fear a rector who is a terror. And whatever he said will be done. And the love of the mother church, for instance, or for the mother church, it is, canon law talks about sanctions and punishment. And sometimes if the church does not apply sanctions, many of our children will not do the right thing. Now, but your assignment, you meet people, you meet these candidates, so to speak, in a condition that the apostles described today in the gospel, in a very lonely place, in their area of fragility and brokenness. And that is where reassurance of the love of God becomes important, so that rather than fear, they will be guided by love. And that love can only stem really from a real knowledge of who we are, our identity. And I will end with a story. Because it is, if we are really aware of our identity, then we realize that the option open to us is really that of love rather than that of fear. You also may have heard this story of a king who was feared by all, terrible king. And he was passing in a public arena, and everybody was standing very at attention, very afraid, because if he noticed anything or anybody out of order, it could be death for whoever was responsible for that thing out of order, or for the person who was out of order. And suddenly, a 4-year-old child broke out from the crowd and started running towards the man. And horrified, the man in charge of protocols and order rushed to the boy and grabbed him. "Are you not afraid? That is the king coming." The boy tore himself off the man's hands and said, He may be your king, but he is my Father. And that makes a big difference. So, my dear brothers, your assignment is that delicate, so delicate as to draw candidates to the priesthood and to religious life, to recognize in God a Father who has put in us a spirit, not of timidity or fear, but the spirit that makes us call him with his only begotten Son, Father, and are aware of our identity. We know him and love him, and that then pulls us to the love of one another. I pray for you at this Mass, because your assignment is not easy. None of you, if I know correctly, chose to be spiritual director. You were asked by your superiors to carry out this assignment. And except you too love, you will not be able to do that effectively. And may God keep you in his love.